So it's just come to my attention how awful the BBC News has been in the last week. Okay, I usually trust BBC News. I feel like I have a lot of trust towards them because I've seen stuff on Fox and I'm just thinking this sounds crazy, but I feel like BBC is so much better. A lot of things they report it quite well, but I feel completely let down by them this week because I'm finding all these horrific stories or horrific viewpoints of a huge amount of devastation, huge amounts of... It's like this Hurricane Helena is like the worst hurricane that's ever hit America, and yet there was way more publicity when Hurricane Katrina hit, and this one is like 10 times worse than the Hurricane Katrina. And I didn't know why I didn't hear about this. Like, have I missed? Like, I'm sure I've made many attempts to watch the news this week, and I've seen nothing interesting, so I didn't watch it. And I've gone through all the days to try and work out like why the news hasn't been reporting on this major story, such as like the biggest catastrophe in weather history has happened in America, and yet no one seems to be talking about it. You know, in America they were saying how someone said, I watched a video where someone said that they went to the hospitals and they said there was 900 unaccounted bodies. I know when it comes to people saying this, you can't believe it, you know, because there's a woman in the jacuzzi who said that there's, for every female born, there's 7 male babies born. So that's completely untrue, and she said that she went to the hospital and this is something that a nurse actually told her, that there's 7 times more male babies than there are female babies, and that's obviously not the truth. I don't know where she's got her information from. So I know when it comes to people saying, oh, I've been into a hospital and this is what they've said. So I know you shouldn't believe the hearsay and the rubbish they're saying. And yesterday I saw a video where someone was saying how, you know, there was all these huge reports of just endless bodies just in a small section of the river, and that you could just smell the bodies everywhere and stuff. And he went to this location and was trying to confirm that this wasn't the case. And because I saw that video, I think there was that video and there's maybe 1 or 2 other videos that I saw of flooded, which mostly just looked like fields and warehouses. Because of that, I didn't take it seriously. And then I'm looking today and I was just thinking, this looks hugely awful. So why have I, like, why, it's supposed to happen over a week ago now, 8 days ago. So why has it taken me so long to hear about it? You know, I have the news not been reporting it, and I've looked. So it's supposed to happen on the Friday night. And it couldn't go back to last Friday night on the news, but I went back to Saturday night, which was the furthest I could get back, on the Virgin Media TV, and apparently there was 22 minutes of talking about the Israeli war, and then 1 minute of this storm. And according to this storm in America, it killed 43 people, and it literally spoke about this storm for like 60 seconds. On the Sunday, again, I think the number increased to 60 casualties, so there was 60 casualties, and it first spoke about the Israeli war for 16 minutes, and then it started talking about a flood in Nepal, and that flood in Nepal looked pretty bad, and then it showed a flood in America which also looked equally the same, and then it started talking about a flood in Atlantis. And it made out that all these 3 were kind of equally the same. They spent about 2 minutes talking about each one. But again, the bulk of the news channel was talking about the war in Israeli. And I think at that day was the leader, who had been a leader for a very long time of Hezbollah. He had died, and all the focus was on that. And the reason, I think I remember watching like 5 minutes of it and just thinking, this seems really boring, I'm not watching this, and turning over. I might have seen a flash of something that was going to be reported later on, which is just flooding, which it just seemed very casual, very normal. You know, this is happening all the way over the world. This is just something that happens now, and we just have to accept it as being a normal day. Monday, I think there was no mention of it at all. Oh no, Monday I think there might have been a mention, but nothing. Tuesday they had this big, a small intro at the beginning, saying that up to 200 people have now. Oh no, I think it was saying there could be up to 600 people dying, and this is the biggest storm in America. So it said this in like a 5-second intro of the news. And then I watched that whole episode of the news. Well, I ended up fast forwarding it because everything was about the war. War, 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 war. I skipped through the whole of that 35-minute episode and it never once mentioned the flood in America. Not once. And I was just thinking, you're saying in like a 2-second intro that this is the worst storm that America's ever hit and ever had happen to them. And what? The whole episode is about the Israeli war. I mean, I don't want to know. It angers me to actually see pictures of this Israeli war because I see a horrible town full of guys wearing horrible outfits. You know, if a woman was to be in a city, a dirty city full of horrible looking buildings and only surrounded by men, that woman would feel unsafe. That woman would feel afraid for her own life because there's not one woman around, and maybe there is one or two somewhere in the distance, but she's covered in a veil and you can barely see her. And, you know, I would feel afraid living in that environment. And even if it's not about the bombs, even if it's not about any of it, I would hate to live in Israel. Well, not Israel, but the dirtier looking parts, I guess it was Lebanon that they were filming. You know, I wouldn't like. I've never been to Lebanon, so I don't know if it's nice or not. But it doesn't look or feel safe. And I'm not talking about the bombs. I'm just talking about a whole city where you only see guys and women are just locked in houses wearing horrible clothing. You know, this is not how I would want to live. This is not how I. You know, I don't want to see this. I don't like seeing it. I don't want to have anything to do with this war. And so if all the news report is just about something that's going on in the Middle East, I feel horrible for not caring. But that is how I feel. So I don't like watching it. So I have been watching the news, I think, for like 1 or 2 minutes, and then I just switch off. And it's just annoying to think that there's like something real news that I'm actually interested in. You know, it's to see such nice places be destroyed by rainfall and storms, and you know, such nice, you know, I feel like there's so many better stories that they could focus on. Why is it the BBC News just focusing on these dirty countries and them getting blown up? What are you doing? Are you really getting that much interest? Are really lots of people interested? I suppose there's probably more people from Israel and these places, Lebanon, Middle East. Maybe there's more of these people in England and stuff. So maybe that's why the news is. I get the news is trying to you know, give stories that the public want to hear. But I want to hear things about, you know, a nice country where you can see lots of nice buildings and see, you know, people's lives. Okay, it's not, you don't really want to see people's lives being destroyed, but I find it so much more interesting, and I feel let down by BBC News because they've just made the whole focus about what's going on in the Middle East and trying to get people to feel sorry for the war that's going on. I don't feel sorry for the war. If I was living in these countries, I would want to die. So I feel sorry for the people that don't die. I don't feel sorry for the people that die. I feel sorry for the people that don't die. What? You didn't die? Oh, that's awful. I would hate to be in your position. You know, that I hate my life right now. And England is so much prettier and so much nicer. And therefore to think that if I was living in, you know, in a dirty country where women just are living in houses and the streets are dirty, and it's I know they're showing buildings that have been blown up, but you don't need to look at the houses that have been blown up. You look at the normal houses, the ones that haven't been affected by a bomb, and they often a lot of them look horrible, and it doesn't look like a nice place to live, and therefore, you know, I hate looking at it because it's just a reminder of something I don't want to exist. I don't want people to live in houses in conditions like this. I don't want women to dress in the way that they do. And you know, I love fashion and beauty, and I don't see the Islamic style of a woman, what they wear. I do not see this as pretty or attractive or nice, and I think it's kind of ugly, and then I see the buildings too, and I think that's also kind of ugly, and then so I don't like watching it. But yeah, I felt I need to say that because I don't know why the media is not focusing on the biggest weather disaster in Americans' history, and to mix it in with the is it John or something? Was it Hurricane John? There was another one that hit Mexico. And, you know, there was one clip that I remember seeing where someone asked him about the how's the storms, and President Biden didn't know which storm he was what storm they were talking about. And I get why he would say that. Why? Because the BBC News, they reported on one in Atlantis, one in Nepal, one in Mexico, all happening at the same time. And this biggest one, the Helena, is seems to just be disappearing. There seems to be very little information about it, and I don't know how many casualties there are, but I feel like I'm not getting an accurate report on it, because I feel like all the focus is on the war. What are you doing? What's the point of that? What is the point of that?